My fiancée thought I'd never notice her late meetings, but one message on her lock screen told me exactly what and who. She'd been hiding all along that I always thought the hardest thing about adulthood would be bills, responsibilities, maybe a job that slowly eats your soul. Turns out, it was none of that. The hardest thing was realizing that the people you trust the most can paint a perfect smile while holding a knife behind their back. My name doesn't matter for this story. What matters is what happened one ordinary Tuesday night, the night that pushed me to make the most painful decision of my life. I was sitting on the couch after work, scrolling through my phone, when I noticed my wife, Anna, acting different. Not dramatic, not obvious, just off. Her laughs were a little too forced, her answers a little too short. The kind of behavior you only notice when you've lived with someone long enough to know their breathing patterns. "Everything okay?" I asked casually. She nodded instantly. Too instantly. "Yeah, just tired." But the way she kept checking her phone told a different story. The screen kept lighting up, and every time it did, she tilted it away from me. That was new. Later that evening, when she thought I wasn't paying attention, she slipped into the kitchen and whispered into the phone. Her voice was low, soft, the tone people use when they don't want anyone else to hear who they're talking to. I didn't confront her. I didn't storm in. I just listened. And what I heard wasn't incriminating. Not yet. But it was enough to make something cold twist in my stomach. "Yeah, tomorrow. Same time. He won't be here." She hung up fast when I walked in. Her smile trembled. "Want tea?" Tea. Like nothing was happening. Moments like these change you. Not instantly. They start as a crack. A small one. Barely visible. But once it appears, everything you see after passes through that crack, widening it, weakening the whole foundation. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat in the dark living room replaying everything in my head, every laugh, every glance, every little detail that suddenly felt like a puzzle piece I'd been ignoring. I didn't know the full truth yet, but I knew one thing. Tomorrow, something was going to happen. And this time, I needed to be ready. Over the next few days, the tension in our home grew so quietly and gradually that it almost felt natural, until it didn't. There was a heaviness in the air, something unspoken, something she kept carefully tucked away whenever I entered the room. She claimed she was just busy, that work was stressful, that the late-night messages lighting up her phone were nothing important. But the way she said it, it didn't match her eyes. They darted away too quickly, lingered too long on her screen, or seemed to study me as if calculating what I did or didn't know. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't digging for secrets. But the truth has a way of showing itself, even when you're trying to pretend everything is fine. It started with a small detail. She changed her phone's lock screen password, a password that had stayed the same for years. No explanation, no slip of the tongue, just a quiet, deliberate barrier between us. Then came the sudden work meetings that always happened at the exact time she used to come home. The calls she silenced the moment she thought I walked into the room. The way she kept her phone face down, even on nights when she used to fall asleep scrolling through memes and laughing with me about them. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. People change, schedules change, moods fluctuate. It's part of life. But then one evening, she slipped. Not with her words, but with her actions. She left her bag on the chair before going to shower. A simple thing, something she did every day. But this time, her phone buzzed. Once, then again, and again. The same name flashed on the screen. Someone she never mentioned. Someone whose messages were marked as urgent. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't read anything. But the unease inside me shifted from a whisper to a clear, sharp voice. Something was wrong. Something she didn't want me to know. When she came out of the bathroom, towel around her shoulders, she froze for just a second when she saw her ringing phone in my line of sight. A split-second reaction, but full of panic. She grabbed the phone with a speed that didn't match her calm expression and said, "Oh, it's just a colleague." But that wasn't the tone of someone speaking about a colleague. It was the tone of someone defending a secret. For the first time, I realized I was no longer imagining things. She was hiding something, and whatever it was getting harder for her to keep concealed. And I knew that sooner or later, the truth would come out. Whether she wanted it to or not, that I tried to keep myself calm. Tried to believe there was some innocent explanation behind all of this. But when someone you trust begins acting like a stranger in your own home, every small detail hits differently. And the details kept piling up. She began dressing up more for work. Not in the usual, Practical way, no. Now she spent extra time choosing outfits, spraying perfume she normally saved for special occasions. She checked her reflection multiple times before leaving, tilting her head as if searching for approval in the mirror she no longer asked me for. When I asked about it, she laughed softly. Oh, come on. Can't I look nice for myself? It was a reasonable answer. Too reasonable. The kind of answer you give when you've already rehearsed it. Then came the night that shifted everything. She came home unusually late, later than any of her so-called meetings should have lasted. Her cheeks were a little flushed, her hair slightly messy, and the moment she saw me awake on the couch, she froze for half a second. Just half a second. But that was enough. Why are you still up? She asked, trying to sound casual. I wanted to make sure you got home safely. I answered. She forced a smile. Oh, you worry too much. But something was wrong. Not in a dramatic, obvious way. In the kind of way you feel in your chest before your brain can explain it. She walked past me quickly, as if afraid I might smell something she didn't want me to notice. Perfume that wasn't hers. A hint of cologne that definitely wasn't mine. In the kitchen, she opened the fridge, pretended to search for something she clearly wasn't looking for, then closed it again. Just buying time. Her hands trembled slightly when she poured herself a glass of water. I watched her, not accusingly, just observing. Long day, I finally asked. She nodded too quickly. Yeah, very long. Lots of planning, lots of stress. But stress doesn't leave lipstick smudges slightly off-center. Stress doesn't make someone avoid looking into your eyes. Stress doesn't explain why she kept nervously checking her phone under the table, responding instantly, then flipping it face down again. Something broke inside me that night. Not from anger. From clarity. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't insecurity. This wasn't imagination. This was a secret. One she was protecting with every move she made. Later, when she went to bed early, pretending to be exhausted, her phone lit up again on the nightstand. A new message. I didn't touch it, but I saw the preview. Just enough. Did you get home? Text me when he falls asleep. My chest tightened. My hands went cold. No name. Just a number. But the meaning was unmistakable. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't just losing her. I was being replaced, quietly, carefully, and behind my back. And the worst part? She didn't think I would ever find out. That message changed everything. Not because it told me something new. Deep down, I already knew. But because it removed the last bit of doubt, the last excuse I was holding onto to protect myself from the truth. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing beside me, steady, calm, peaceful. Almost too peaceful for someone living a double life. Morning came, and with it, a strange clarity. I didn't storm into the kitchen demanding confessions. I didn't shout or accuse or try to corner her with evidence. Instead, I watched. And when someone is hiding something, silence speaks louder than any confrontation. She rushed through her morning routine, avoiding eye contact, avoiding conversation, avoiding me entirely. Her hands shook when she applied mascara. She kept checking her phone with subtle, nervous glances, as if afraid she'd miss a message from the person she was really waking up for. Before she left, she gave me a quick, uneasy hug. A hug that felt like an apology she wasn't willing to say out loud. The moment the door closed behind her, everything inside me settled. Not anger, not heartbreak, just acceptance. I wasn't going to spy. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for someone who was already halfway out the door. But I also wasn't going to sit quietly and let her pretend nothing was happening. I opened my laptop and began gathering the pieces, messages she didn't know I saw, the late-night meetings, the changed passwords, the excuses that contradicted each other. Not to trap her, not to punish her, just to show her that I wasn't blind. That afternoon, when she came home earlier than usual, she looked startled to see me, almost guilty for being home too soon. We need to talk, I said quietly. Her face paled. She knew. I didn't read the messages aloud. I didn't break down. I simply placed the phone on the table, the same phone she'd guarded for weeks, and said, I saw enough to understand what's been going on. I won't attack you. I won't blame you. But I won't pretend anymore. Her eyes filled with fear, then regret, then something that almost looked like relief. Relief that the secret was finally out. She tried to explain, tried to soften the edges, tried to tell me it just happened, that she didn't mean for it to go this far, that she still cared. But caring isn't something you hide behind lies. Caring isn't something you do with someone who isn't your partner. Caring isn't late-night messages asking another person to text once I fall asleep. I listened to every word. And the more she talked, the clearer everything became. When she finished, I nodded. I'm not here to hate you, I said, but I deserve honesty. And I deserve someone who chooses me, not someone who hides from me. There was nothing left to argue. The silence between us wasn't angry. It was final. She left that evening with a small bag, saying she needed time to think. But we both knew she wasn't going to be alone. Not that night. Maybe not for many nights after. And I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. Because the moment she walked out, the house felt lighter. Not because losing someone is easy, but because losing someone who was never really here isn't a loss at all. It's closure. A quiet, painful, necessary closure. And as strange as it sounds, that was the first night in weeks I slept peacefully. Not because everything was okay, but because, finally, everything was honest.